Hello, everybody. It's midweek. Welcome back to Leading Our Own Way. Hope it's been a great week so far. Hope you got to listen to part one of Joe's episode. This is part two with the incredible Joanne Kennard, though. If part one is lit a spark, part two pours fuel on it. Jo isn't just an adventurer with a big heart. She's someone who sees a problem, leans in, and gets to work. We're talking about the easy oven and the real world impact it's having, how one idea can create a ripple effect through families, communities, and even disaster relief. We also dive into Jo's mission to help others bring their ideas to life through initiatives like Start Over and Start Wild, her business. Because for Jo, success isn't just personal, it's shared. I love it. Before we jump in though, do me a quick favour, follow the show on this platform so you don't miss what's next. All right, let's continue. Here's Jo and myself. Before we dive in, I want to give a big, massive shout out to our now new proud sponsor, Eshu Skincare, a brand that truly aligns with Leading Our Own Way. This Australian-born company is dedicated to keeping skincare simple, effective, and straightforward. They've made waves in the US, even landed in Macy's and over 300 stores, and now they're back with a renewed focus on healthy skin and real results. If you want authentic skincare that fits your lifestyle, check them out in the show notes. Thanks to Eshu Skincare for supporting real stories and mental fitness on Leading Our Own Way. And if you're interested in sponsoring like Eshu Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to connect. Wow. What a, like, it's awesome, isn't it? Oh my God. I just love to be in your head when you came up with it. I know you saw the house and you had to do something about it, and that is the root of it. But how did you come up with that, though? Do you know what I mean? That specific, it could have been something else. How did you come up with that? Where did that thought come from?
Look,
I know you were, I remember you telling me in the pre-chat, you invent things during the night.
Yes, I do. I have a folder that, and I'll wake up and there have been days when I've woken my husband and said, I've got this most amazing idea. I think that I could do such and such. And bless him, I look at him and he goes, you should draw it. And I get up and I'm really excited and I go draw things and come up with new ideas. And I think that, again, life, I look this way. I don't look this way at all. I've always looked a different way. So I always look sideways. I always think of things, how could I improve that? Or is that most amazing? And that's it. And you always get these people say, why do you, don't reinvent the wheel, just make it better. So heat retention cooking, I mean, if you ask a lot of older people and you ask your mum or your grandma, they would have cooked and put a sleeping bag around something or a whole lot of towels or something like that. That's what heat retention is. In the Second World War, they used to have a hay box because they couldn't cook a lot and they didn't have electricity and all of those things that, were going on. So what they did was they used to put hay in a box and put their stew in it and put hay on top and leave it. And they did it right throughout, So, yeah, as I say, we're just making it a little sexier with the colours and the ease, so, and, you can, if they get, I wouldn't dare show you my very first one because it has huge amount of curry stains and all sorts of things on it. But, this is, over 15 years later and they're still going strong. So, the life cycle is not an issue with regards to it. So, and we always try and manufacture locally. So wherever I go, I try and see if I can manufacture locally, and we get people involved in the community that may want to learn how to sew, for instance. And so I've drawn up programs where we can look at getting them into learn how to sew, which is a skill, and for want of a better word, the Tupperware model, where ladies learn how to use them and then go out to communities and teach other people how to use them. So it's that micro business ripple effect, and just that circular economy. So my manufacturer that I spoke about before, she's an hour down the road very small manufacturing, and now it's just her. And so it's not about big corporations manufacturing these things. It's about being able to circulate that money throughout communities and make sure that they've got the right ones.
Yeah, love it. And to top it off, they're not even expensive, are they?
No, they're not. They're not. They're $75. And
Yeah.
you get that back.
Australian dollars, by the way.
Australian dollars, and you get that back. I guess that they save probably $400 or $500 of electricity a year, so it pays for itself pretty jolly fast. So, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Love it. Well, I could talk about that forever, but I love the viewers to understand the character of where you came from, of why you became the person you came to today. But before we do, that's still not it really, because we've not discussed briefly around your business. You have a business called Start Wild as well, and you've got something we discussed last time around. Yeah, let's talk about Start Wild, because there's something you created, the rule of the 5 wands as well. I think we need to touch on before we travel back in time.
Start Wild is a passion of mine, and what happened was, when I invented Easy Oven, I had an incredible amount of people have over the years have said to me, how on earth did you get an idea from your brain to draw it on paper, to make a prototype, to selling internationally? And statistically, I think they say that 100% people have ideas, and out of that, 90% never follow through. So you've got 10%, and out of that, 5% actually really do think about following it through, and out of that's probably about 2%. So the numbers are pretty down there. And so I've got Start Wild because it teaches people how to start a startup. And it doesn't have to be, Easy Oven's a pretty different product. It's pretty unique. It's pretty strange. And it's not about that. It's starting up something, and it's taking that courage to jump off that cliff and to back yourself and to really just light the fire, and that spark turns into a fire. It's something really exciting. And a part of your ego is, and there is a part of your ego, is something when you invent something and then you're walking down the road and somebody's carrying it under their arm, they've just purchased it. And that's pretty exciting. You just want to tap them on the shoulder, go, that's mine. I did that. And it is, it's pretty jolly exciting. And so I started Start Wild so that I could do that. So the 5 wands is something that I'm pretty excited about. It's what it is it's you find one product and you do it for 1 year. You follow through with it. It's all about the ones. So it's 1 year, it's one product, it's one mastering. You do it on social media, and I've built a whole program around being able to take your startup and really run with it and really go for it. We've got I've designed all these other programs as well around that, and one of them is the 5-minute reset, and that's basically take a breath, take 5 minutes, zero back down, go, right, I can do this. Reorganize your mind and then go for it. So there's a whole different sort of programs, and I've got, I think, I've actually written too many of them, I must admit. I'm one of those. But I have 4 for sale right now. I've got another 4 that I just need to make pretty, and they'll be available in the next month or 2. And then obviously there's the coaching, the one-on-ones and the group coaching if that's what people want to do. But it for me, it's I've always had an issue with people trying to mentor me who've never ever had an idea in their life, who have gone to university, have gone into middle management. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But there is when you don't know the journey of a startup. And so I guess I use all my knowledge and everything that I've done, and all the sleepless nights and all the mistakes that I've made, which haven't been mistakes, they've been absolute learning curves. because I don't believe in mistakes. I think that they're all learning curves. And then just being able to use that whole idea and take you on that journey. So yeah, Start Wild is pretty good. Had a new website launched. It's just been launched and designed for me. So which is really lovely. Michael, which is my daughter's partner, decided that he would design it for me. So I've been very fortunate. It's a bit of a family affair.
And no, I love that. That's startwild.com.au, isn't it?
Yes.
Beautiful. People can check it out. It's in the show notes as well for you all. I love the viewers, like I mentioned before, to really see the personal side of each of my guests. You know, you've explained how you're leading your own way, but there's a reason why you got there. There's a how of why you got there. You've always been a bit of an adventurer. You've always been you're like me. You like to talk to strangers. I remember you telling me you like to speak to strangers. I'm that sort of dude as well. And you know, I've had the frown before. Here we go again. And he loves to talk. Have you ever experienced things like that as well yourself? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you now live in Australia, but you mentioned you're from South Island. I love the South Island, by the way, of New Zealand. That is my favourite island out of the two. Love it.
It's very English.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I come from a town.
I mean, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very English.
Oh, no, sorry. Go on.
So I come from a town that's 80 k's south of Christchurch called Ashburton. It's a farm town. My folks, born and bred there. My brother now lives there as well. He's gone back home. And it's a lovely town, but I guess I've always had this adventurous heart. So I was always going to travel the world. Even when I was a little girl, I was going to travel the world. And yes, I talk to absolutely everybody I can. I love sparking up conversations with people because I find people really interesting. There's all sorts of these people out there in the world. And so I decided that I really wanted to be a nurse. And being in a small hometown, we had a year-long course, and they said that I couldn't go into that one because my marks were a wee bit higher and that there wasn't a place for me. And so I was a bit distraught, and my cousin said to me, why don't you join the army? Why don't you be a nurse in the army? And I thought, that's a good idea. So at 17, I joined the New Zealand Army as a medic and lasted nearly 5 years until one day a girlfriend of mine had gone to America to have a look around, and she said, come to America and then we could go to England. Come to America. And I thought, you know what? That sounds a really good idea. So I had my 23rd birthday in Washington, D.C., and hit America and stayed with people that I'd met and, you know, went all around the place, and then went to the UK and was traveling around a lot there. And that's where I met my husband. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a different start, I guess. And I think that I think I've always had an adventurous heart. I always find that the one thing when I joined the army, my mother is the youngest of 7, and I'm the youngest grandchild. And my granddad, there's 22 years difference between my mum and her oldest brother. So we sort of skipped a generation. So my grandfather was actually a Gallipoli boy. He fought in Gallipoli and had a bayonet go right through his lung in Gallipoli, and he got medicaled out back to England. But he joined on the 19th of April, 1915. And he joined in a camp called Foxton, in a place called Foxton, and they shifted the camp from Foxton to Wairu in the North Island. And I joined on the 19th of April, 1983. So I actually joined on exactly the same day as he did, and at the same camp, which is really quite bizarre because my grandfather passed away when I was 6 months old. So I reckon he might have had a wee bit of a tap on that one, I think, you know, somewhere along the line. But yeah, look, I've always had an adventurous heart. I've always talked to everybody. I love travel. I think it opens your mind and your soul, and you get to grow so much. And you know, I can't encourage, you know, everybody more just to see the world. I've seen some incredible things around the world, and I've been really fortunate.
Yeah.
And it's not 5-star hotels. This is sleeping on trains platforms in Poland and all sorts of things.
I did the same thing. We
Yeah.
slept on beaches. We snuck into hotels to get free showers.
Oh yes,
And
and
stayed
the
in
toilet.
hostels.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But to add a weird sign to, maybe it is a sign, to your dates you've just mentioned there about you and your grandfather. You joined on the 19th of April 1983, but later that year I was born. Just saying.
Just saying. Wow, that's scary. Isn't it?
But I was born in 83, so we're connected. We're meant to be.
Absolutely, we're supposed to be there. So I always joke because I'm born on the 20th of May, and they always say that it's a Taurus with the rising moon of Gemini. So I use that saying that I'm absolutely stubborn as a bull and probably two-faced, and then that just sets the scene for anything. So.
Love it.
But yeah,
Love
look,
it.
I guess that may lead into the Europe side of things.
I think so. I think that's where you're going to take me now, because this is fascinating too. No, it's all fascinating, but I think that's where you're going to take me.
Yeah. So as I say, I've been really fortunate. I ended up in the UK, and in those days we could arrive on the shores of the UK as New Zealanders and get a 2-year visa and be able to work there. And backpack around the place, and it's the doorway to Europe. So it's really lovely. You could go to. We used to go to Paris Christmas shopping, and I would just say to my mother, "Oh, I'm just going off to Paris, Christmas shopping," and she said to me, "Oh, I'm going to Christchurch," So it's a little bit of comparison there somewhere, and in those times, as I say, Europe was still the Eastern Bloc. So my girlfriend and I, Cheryl and I, met in England and got on famously and decided we would go into a combi van, as most Aussies, Kiwis, South Africans do, to travel through Europe. And unfortunately, the van broke down a few times, and we decided to head off with our backpacks and just carry on traveling. And we got to West Berlin and decided we'd go through for the day to see what East Berlin was like, because the wall was still up. And so we went through and we came back and we went, you know what? Why don't we just carry on tomorrow and we'll walk back through and we'll just carry on going through the Eastern Bloc. Now, you're always bulletproof at 24. I was 24 by that stage, very bulletproof. And remembering no cell phones, no internet. We had of where we were going to be, sort of. And in those days, we had post office boxes. So anyone that wanted to contact us could write a letter. So I told Grant where I was going, and he would write a letter, and then I'd write a letter, and it would sort of be like this as we were traveling. And Cheryl and I walked through Checkpoint Charlie into East Berlin. But before we walked in, I said to her, "Hey, let's swap passports." And she goes, "Why?" And I went, "I just want to see whether they're going to look at our passports or not." And she went, "That is the dumbest thing you've thought of so far." And I went, "Yeah, but come on, let's do it." And we had the same sort of coloured hair, and we were reasonably the same sort of height. I think she was a bit taller, but we were reasonably the same. And that was probably about it. So I conned her and I walked through Checkpoint Charlie on her passport, and these guys stamped it and we blew them a kiss and we walked into East Berlin on each other's passports, which is probably not the best idea. But anyway, it sounded a really good idea when we did it. And we headed into East Berlin, and we went right through. We actually didn't know the wall had come down until we got to Greece, and we saw it on the news, and that was now 2 weeks later. And so, because it was the Eastern Bloc was actually falling behind us, and some of our friends thought it was us. It wasn't, but it was actually falling behind us. So, we were in. My passport has these most incredible stamps of countries that no longer exist, and we only had one incident that probably was a little bit dodgy, maybe. I got poisoned by the Securitate police that we believe in Romania. And what happened was we were on a train from Poland, and we had been warned that you can't black market, and it was very common to black market your money and your cigarettes and those sorts of things in Poland. But they said, look, don't even remotely say yes or contemplate it in Romania. It's really dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. And in those days, Ceausescu was still alive. And when we had a little bit of a kerfuffle with one of the guards, he was assaulting a girl, and I stood there shaking my head, and he sort of tossed her to the side and came and took our passports and then gave them back. But when we arrived, they had a man met us at our train, right at our train stop. So not even a different carriage, right at our carriage. And I can actually to this day, many years later, still see him. And he said to us, you're from New Zealand? And I said, yes. And he said, your largest city is Auckland, but your capital is Wellington. And you have 3 million people, but 6 million sheep, or something like that. And I looked at him, and Cheryl looked at me and she goes, are we in trouble? And I went, absolutely. And so we started shouting at him. And I don't think I was very polite. I didn't use ladylike language at all. But we managed to escape, and he ran off. And then we got to our hotel, and the next morning we decided it was very unsafe. And so the next morning we decided we would go, and we had breakfast. And I was partway through my breakfast, and we had exactly the same breakfast, and they had cleared out the whole dining room, and there was just Cheryl and I in the dining room, and waiters had changed and all sorts of things. And I couldn't see, and I had been poisoned. And so there's a bit of a longer story to it, but and I promised I would write a book about the journeys of those, but yeah, I was poisoned, and so I couldn't see and I couldn't walk. And Cheryl had to go and get tickets to Turkey, and we managed to get on a bus and bus into Istanbul and go and see a doctor. And he shouted at me because he said I'd been poisoned, not food poisoning. And so that was pretty exciting, I guess.
What? It's like a movie, that though, isn't it? I'm trying to picture like the waiters even just changing in your moment and
Yeah,
things
so
like
when
that.
we
Why?
walked into that dining room, people then left the dining room. They just all got up and left, and we were shown to our table.
Why?
And then the waiters
But how?
changed.
Why would they do that?
Oh, because they were poisoning me. So they weren't. Then they put people at the doors, and then they had our waiters, and two different waiters brought our two different meals. So a waiter can bring two plates. So we had two different waiters bring us two different meals. And so, that was what happened. And in those days, you could disappear. If I'd disappeared, then you would never have found me. I would be somewhere along the line. So
Why you two though? Because
sorry?
you're from New Zealand.
But beg your pardon?
Why you two though?
Oh, we were the only two
Sorry, I think there's
Westerners
a
on the
slight delay.
train. Yeah, and
Yeah.
of course, if you remember, the wall had just come down. It was all falling, and Ceausescu lost his life a week later. So he lost his life a week later. So it was all falling. So I guess they were trying to figure out what was going on, and yeah, we were the only two Westerners on the train, which we didn't know at that time.
Yeah, sure. Well, so when the guy was telling you the facts about New Zealand at the train, and your friend said, "Are we in trouble?" What made you think you were in trouble, though? Just taking a very quick break to thank our sponsor, SU Skincare. If you haven't heard of them, SU Skincare started right here in Australia, using Australian ingredients to make skincare straightforward and accessible, especially for men who want results without the fuss. Their journey took them all the way to the US, where they were featured in Macy's and over 300 stores. Now they're back with a fresh approach, focusing on healthy skin and authenticity for everyone. I'm proud to have SU Skincare as a sponsor on Leading Our Own Way. See the show notes for their website and to see how you can keep your skin healthy and confident. And if you're interested in sponsoring like SU Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Now, right back to the episode.
Well, because he had to read it from an encyclopedia because we didn't have internet. And the mere fact he had a very, very strong Eastern European accent, like a very, very strong, his English wasn't that great. And he was at least a foot taller than anybody else in the train station. He was huge. He was this giant of a man. And it was just the way he was quite aggressive towards us. I think he actually did say to us, black market. And I said, I'm not interested. Where you go? Off you go. So yeah, he was, a bit aggressive. And then we ran to our hotel room, but we were followed. And again, being the only two Westerners around, we were certainly different. I mean, I remember being when Cheryl and I, we were still with the combi and we were in Czechoslovakia and we went to shower at a campground we were staying at. And these three girls stood and the shower cubicles didn't have curtains. And I think Cheryl and I both had to shave our legs, and these girls stood at the basins with their arms folded and watched us shower. And then Cheryl said to me, "Are they watching us?" And I went, "Yeah, I think they are actually." And we worked out that when we got dressed, I mean, we had our underwear was, like lace underwear, like normal underwear that we buy here. But these girls all had little girl singlets and big cotton underwear and things like that. So they were fascinated more than anything else. They were fascinated with us. We looked different. We had different clothes. What's going on? And again, we were the only two Westerners in that whole campground. So they were very, oppressed in those times. So it's a little different. But if you ask me if I'd do it again, absolutely. I'd still put that backpack on my shoulders and do it again.
Well, why am I not surprised? So you went to see a doctor, didn't you, in Turkey? Is that how you found out that you were poisoned?
Oh, I was dreadfully ill. I couldn't see very well. I couldn't walk very well. I was sweating like a bucket of water was over my head. I was very sick, very, very sick when I got onto the bus. And luckily it had a bathroom, which I stayed in, I think, most of the trip, really. And then, then I had obviously got it out of my system. So it was a lot better.
Yeah. Incredible. And so Grant, at this time, Grant was back in South Africa and you made your way back to the UK. Is that right? Before meeting up with him again? Yeah, he'd gone to
America to see his family. And the idea was that we were going to meet back in South Africa, but he wasn't able to extend his visa. So he went back to South Africa. So by the time I got back to the UK, I had £10 in my pocket. So I slept on the floor of friends' places until I found a job and some money, and then went to see him. So, yeah. And we just corresponded by... We had the telephone and
because I'm thinking in the 80s, that would have been what, late 80s, would that have been at that point, would it?
1989.
Yeah, 89. Yeah, because you don't, how old was I? 7 or 8, and we just had landlines, didn't we? We didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have the internet, and we just didn't, that way of communication was just not the same, was it? So to keep that relationship going was a good effort as well, even back then traveling. Because I remember when I went to New York, and because I'm like you, I keep in touch with everybody. And I remember after leaving New York when was the first time I went to New York? 2000. Getting back to the UK, I had to buy international cards to stay in touch with my friends in New York. And I did. And then obviously all these phones come out. And now it's just a one message thing. And they've been over to Australia to see me. They came to England. I've been to Times Square New Year and went, because living in Manchester, it was easy to get to New York. So I'd keep in touch with you guys. But I remember at the beginning, I had to go to put the code in and phone the international code and use an international phone card. And that was 2000. So imagine in 89. Oh, my Lord.
Look, I'm talking, my girlfriend, Cheryl, hated anything but rum. She'd only drink rum. And we got this bottle of rum, and then we had to cart it all through Eastern Bloc because nobody sold Coke. So Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
So we had to, we tried it with water. It wasn't great. So we had to wait until we got to Turkey before we could actually open the bottle of rum, so even things like that. Whereas, and I remember going into Berlin, and we went to walk into a supermarket. Now, we didn't need a basket, so we just wanted a couple of things. So we just walked straight in. And we couldn't understand why these people were like talking to us and waving their arms around. And we're like looking at them saying, what are you talking about? And they realized that we had no idea what they're saying. And what it was you were only allowed in the supermarket if you had a basket in your hand. So they only had like 5 people in the supermarket at any one time, so they could keep an eye on them, you see. And we just walked in like we do, and they had hardly anything on their shelves at that stage. So, so all of those sort of things. Nowadays, it's, international food is everywhere and all of those things. But back then, it was very restricted.
Yeah, I mean, why was it so restricted even in 89? Because the war had finished, 45 years earlier? Yeah. Why was it so strict even in 89? Because when I went to...
Communism, socialism, there was nothing going in, no food going in. These people didn't live on an awful lot. We had even the Romanian, we had a Romanian gypsy lady on the train, and she even tried to take the socks off Cheryl's feet because she wanted the socks. And she kept asking for the socks and trying to pull them off Cheryl's feet, which was a little bit funny, but they were that poor. And that's actually where I first saw all the deforestation. That's the start of the impact of looking and seeing that sort of deforestation, and that the people were unbelievably poor. I'd never seen anybody as poor as what we saw in the Eastern Bloc. They were just, the horse and cart, they had carts, the wheels were made of wood, of old pallets. And we all think that that's way back pre-war, but this is 1989, and these guys, and they had potatoes. This one particular guy had a donkey and a cart, and his cart had potatoes on it, and he had his wife sitting on top of the cart, and she had the 4, 5, 6 different layers of clothes and the penny on top. It was like something out of a movie set, but that's just the way they lived. So, we were really fortunate.
And it's not that long ago.
We gave lots of money to people that we felt just needed a little bit extra. So, a little bit of a tip here or something there, or, along the line, just to help out, really.
Yeah. And for you, because then you went back to South Africa, didn't you? You I remember you telling me something about getting caught in a riot or something like that, and people were running around.
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to, within about 3 weeks, Grant ran into some friends from university, and we got invited around for a barbecue. They called it a braai. And we went around.
Yes, I've heard of it. Yep.
And this lady said to me, do you want a job? And I said, yes, please. And so it was this very big cotton textile mill. And unfortunately, one day, I think the cotton side went on riot, and they were running around with metal poles and car tires. The car tires, they slide over your shoulders and fill them full of petrol and light them. And so they sort of evacuated everybody, but they fired the 2,000 workers and said, anyone wants a job, come back the next morning. And so what they did was basically get rid of the people that were the agitators and the non-workers and things, and got all the really good people back. But 10,000 people arrived at the doorstep. and it took me, I went to go down and the police said to me, you can't, you're not allowed to go down there. We won't let you. So then a guy came and got me. One of the accountants came and got me, and I got in the gate finally. It took me a while. And they said, look, thank you so much. We've now employed the 2,000 people. I'm sorry, there's no more jobs. And these guys just started a riot outside. And it was the first time I'd ever seen that for real. You know, we all see it on TV, and we, you know, in those days we used to see, you know, in the Middle East, you know, the rioting and things like that. And I had never seen that before in my life. You know, I came from a farm town. You know, you didn't see those things. So it was a bit of a shock, actually. But I stayed. I did stay.
Yeah.
And we've been married in February. In a week's time, we've been married 32 years. So we've been together 37 years. So, yeah, it worked.
Congratulations to you and Grant.
Thank you.
So you spent 5 years in South Africa before going back to live and get married in New Zealand.
Yes.
Why leave South Africa? Just because, or was there a reason why you left there to go back
Grant
home?
was a school teacher and decided to further study as a civil engineer. And we had the opportunity to do the practical side in New Zealand, get married, do a practical side, and then maybe go back to South Africa. So we thought, well, we'll combine getting married and all those things, and then found that we had a really good life in New Zealand. We both got jobs and very comfortable. So we stayed in New Zealand, and we had our 2 children there. And we were there for 8 years, and then came to Australia. And we've been very, very fortunate in Australia. It's a great country. It's a good country to live in.
It is. I made the move myself. I understand. I've actually been here 14 years. Next week, by the time we're filming, but by the time this comes out, it'll have been a few months ago in February. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for 14 years next week for me. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. I've been here a few times before that, but on this one.
Yeah, we are 23 years. So yeah, it is. We've had amazing opportunities here. So I think it's a good hive for starting a business. You know, starting a fresh start over.
Absolutely. You've what a journey you've been on, and even more recently you've been on a bit of a journey. And I remember in our pre-chat you were happy to share something quite negative, but I think you had a great mindset around it with something that happened twice in the last year.
Yeah, I was made redundant. Actually, I was working in Brisbane, and I was made redundant twice. And really, that was also a thing that triggered the book, the Think Different, Make Money, because what I've discovered, a lot of the negativity in businesses, this particular company that I worked for, unfortunately, hadn't done as well as they could have. And it was a negative place to be in. But I think that everything always happens for a reason. So if I hadn't been made redundant, we may not have come out to the farm as early as we have. And it's a fabulous place to live. And so, you know, for me, I think that when things happen, you've got to take a stock, and it's like, you know, the universe is telling you something. You're not really supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be doing these other things. And I've always been one of those people that have to be busy and have to have lots of fingers and lots of pies, I guess, and, you know, and be able to share my knowledge. So what it has done is given me more scope and more time to put into Start Wild and really create this most amazing community and create these things and, you know, the products and all of those that I can share with everybody, and share my knowledge about starting a startup, really.
Love it. Yeah, well, I think if anything's picked up, the viewers have picked up anything about you, is definitely that you can't sit still and you put your hands in everything. I think that's definitely a picture you've painted, that's for sure. um, well, I mean, that's the next perfect question then, really, to come to the end of the episode shortly, because I have a few questions to ask you, but I have one question I didn't tell you about. I've been quite sneaky, and it's a tough one.
Okay.
So hold on to your thoughts for a second, okay? But your future plans, you've obviously done a lot, so Joe can't sit for too long. What are your future plans going forward?
My future plans are to grow Start Wild, because I firmly believe in that. I think that, being able to share that knowledge, and I get excited when other people's businesses, explode and amazing, and they grow, and I love being part of that to help other people grow their businesses and be incredible. So definitely that, and forever looking at being able to expand, going into different places with Easy Oven and being able to grow that even more. So they're my two focuses of being able to just help and to do that. So if there's any corporates listening and they really need to be able to do that, to expand and to put over their sustainability and environmental charters, then certainly, always open to ideas, always open to collaboration.
Love it, love it. Well, I always need a little bit of help, so you can come and help me if you want with some business advice. That would be amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Love it. If you could give a piece of advice, again, you've given pieces of gems throughout today's episode, but if you could give one piece of powerful advice for our viewers to take away today, so maybe they're sat in the middle of their pivotal journey, maybe they're looking to start a business, maybe they're stuck in it and they're not sure how to get out of it, what would be your piece of gem for them today?
I would say my gem is, if you have something that you're passionate about, do it. Life's a journey. Life's an amazing opportunity. And so it doesn't matter if it's messy. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. It's not supposed to be perfect. Just start. Just do what you really, really love. Don't have that thing where you wake up in the middle of the night with the sweats, the Sunday, when you're starting to feel sick because you've got to go to work on Monday. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Make a plan B. And if it means that you've got to do your plan B part-time until it explodes, then do it. But know that you're so worth it. I think that people don't understand how worth they are, what their worth is. And they really are.
Yeah, I absolutely beautiful piece of advice. I totally agree. And so, I think just with the Start Over book, you've got your first book, but with the second book that's coming out at the end of February, which will be out already by the time this is aired. Yeah. Is part of your journey in the Start Over parts that you've explained today in the episode? Yeah,
it is. It's the Start Over. It's a little bit more in depth about why I started the Easy Oven and probably about the passion of why. And, what I wanted to do was take people on that journey of them absolutely can smell that smoke. When they're reading the book, I want them to smell the smoke. I want them to feel the heat of the sunny day of that journey. And I guess I also wanted them to understand that nothing is beyond you. If I look at, the Easy Oven is not a usual thing. It's not something that you will find regularly anywhere. And so they're the battles, but they're so worth it. I'm the one that smelt that smoke. And I think that be determined, just back yourself. Absolutely back yourself. So, I think that I hope from the story of Easy Oven, it will give somebody that spark just to go, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Well, people, if you're listening, if you want to smell that smoke and feel what she went through, go and buy the Start Over book as well. And I'll put, if obviously, I probably have the link by now, but I'll put that in the show notes too, to help you purchase more of that book as well.
Thank you.
This is the question that I've not told you about. Absolutely, Joey, absolutely. This is the question I've not told you about before I ask my final question, but I've recently started asking this question. I love it. What's a question you wish people would ask you, but they never do?
Oh my word. I think that the question that I would ask, somebody would ask me or want to ask me is, how do I always just stay positive? And I think that people can see it, but they're not quite sure how to translate that into their own lives. And I wish they'd ask in the sense where, for me, it's about absolute determination. It's about looking in the mirror and going, you know what, you can absolutely 100% do this. And it doesn't matter whether it's inventing something, it's getting over a hurdle of something else, it's moving to another country, it's moving apartments, it's whatever it is in life. I wish people would say to me, how did you do it? Like, how do you always remain positive? And I think that it is a mindset. It's something I've trained myself to do. I do the 5-minute reset, and that's actually why I wrote it, was because I consciously do a 5-minute reset every single day. I stand in the shower and I go, okay, what am I doing today? How am I going to organize my life? And by the time I walk out of that shower, and it is actually less than 5 minutes in my shower, because I live on water tanks, by the way, but we're in a rural area. But by the time I'm finished in the bathroom, and I know where I'm going and I know what I'm doing. And I think that if people could just understand that 5-minute reset, they would be able to embrace a lot more in life. If somebody really upsets you at work, you've got to take a step back, you pause for 2 or 3 seconds, and you take it all in first, do your reset. Just go, you know what? Are you worth it? Is your comment absolutely worth it, or whatever you're doing? So that's my question. That would be if somebody asked me, and I've just given them the answer, but
No, I wanted you to answer it. I was going to ask you to answer it anyway, and I think that's great. And I agree. And my extension to that is, putting yourself through, some good, healthy stresses every single day makes the other stresses so much easier to handle later on down the track in the day, in that same day, right?
Absolutely.
And, even that smile in the morning, what Gavin said, or making your bed. That's why soldiers make their bed every morning, because they conquer small, simple habits before the day starts, and it trains your brain to be able to conquer some medium ones, some small ones, and some bigger ones on the same day too. It's simple things, isn't it? Being comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah, because I always do my hard stuff first, always. Because what it does,
There you go.
do the really hard stuff first, the stuff that I really don't want to do, I do those first, because in the afternoon, when I'm doing the stuff that I really love, that just sets me up for the evening. So, change it around. Don't leave them for later. I'm not
Agreed.
a procrastinator. I love to get stuff done. So, yeah.
Yeah, good. Love it, Joe. Well, my final question to you is it's very crystal clear what your purpose is, but I always ask the guest to put it into one powerful line to leave us on. So, Joe, what is your purpose?
My purpose is to help, to educate, and to support, I guess, all of those businesses, all of those people that just need a helping hand. I guess I'm there as the sounding block, and that's more than one sentence. I understand that part, but
No, it's perfect. No, it's good.
I think that my purpose in life is to be there, to be the positive sounding block. I am positive, but I will tell you if I don't think that you're doing the right thing or that you're on the wrong track. I'm not I definitely am not a yes person. I'm there to help and guide, and to be a reality check sometimes as well. And I think that's my purpose. I think that's where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be able to help and to guide. Yeah.
Love it. Joe Kennard, thank you for joining me on Leading Our Own Way. Thanks for joining me on my journey. It's been such a pleasure to have you here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
No, of course. Anytime. Welcome back anytime. Thank you to everybody who's joined Joe and myself. I hope you're having a great week. What a journey we've been on tonight. I hope you've taken the loads away from us. Everything will be in the show notes regarding Joe's journey and connection and whatever she's going to be doing in the future. It'll all be there for you to connect with if you would like.
I'd love it.
But until next week, until we have... Sorry, Joe?
I would love them to connect.
Absolutely. Me too. Absolutely. Me too. And they will. So to everybody, keep leading your own way. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week for another amazing guest. Take care. Bye for now.
See you.
Joanne Kennard. What a human. What a human. Oh, a reminder that that adventure isn't just about where you travel. It's about how you choose to live with courage, curiosity, and a commitment to leave things better than you found them. Here's your takeaway today. Design your life with purpose. Ask yourself, what's one small action you can take this week that creates a ripple effect beyond you? Leading Our Own Way, please follow us. It really, really matters. If you enjoyed the conversation, if you've enjoyed any of them, please follow Leading Our Own Way on the platform you're listening on. And please leave a review. It genuinely helps the show grow and helps these journeys reach more and more people who need them. And if you know someone who's sitting on an idea or going through a start over season, share it. Share this episode with them. Until next time, keep leading your own way. Have a great week. We'll see you next week for another amazing guest. We'll see you then. Bye for now. Thanks for listening and watching Leading Our Own Way. So we can stay together forever and share more incredible journeys, please subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss next week's episode and what that amazing guest has to offer to the world. Please support Leading Our Own Way, and we'll get you on next week's episode.